Thank you. This week on The Leak, but Corey Bernardi has launched his A Better Way app, describing it as a safe space for Conservatives where they can win prizes. Congratulations, Corey. You've just invented a private school rowing club. A government investigation has found James Packer's Crown Resorts is failing to monitor and intervene in problem gambling at Melbourne's Crown Casino. Although James Packer did respond, saying, "Hey man, Crown doesn't have a problem. We're totally in control of this problem. just give me more time, okay? I just need one more really big shot at this." And on this, the final episode of this series of The Leak, I take a moment to look through some audience feedback from viewers who think I'm a cry bully playing the victim card, a mentally ill snowflake, and a left hard shit. 2 likes there for left hard shit. This is The Leak. Hello! Welcome to The Leak. Welcome to The Leak. And it has been a big week for racism in Australia this week, starting with Sunday night and Sky News, who reached into its Rolodex of political fuck-ups and plucked out Adam Giles, who is the one-time Chief Minister of the Northern Territory who holds the much sought-after record for worst election defeat in the Northern Territory's political history. But the real interest was in Adam Giles's guest, Blair Cottrell, seen here just edging out Tony Abbott for number of Australian flags a human can stand in front of. And to be clear, Blair Cottrell wants every classroom to have a copy of Mein Kampf, advocates violence against women because he says apparently they are attracted to strength, claims to have burned down the house of a man who slept with his girlfriend, and is currently appealing a conviction for inciting contempt for Muslims after staging a mock beheading of the Prophet Muhammad. So you can see why Sky News had his number saved in their contacts list. But just on that, Sky News' news director, or to put that correctly, the director, Greg Burns, did admit that it was wrong to interview Cottrell and that they'd make sure the video was taken down and that his views did not reflect Sky's. Which raises the question, do even the people in charge of Sky News not watch Sky News? Because, I don't know if you've watched much of Sky News, but if you have, then when you heard Nazi on Sky News show, you didn't think, who was that? You thought, who was that this time? And speaking of Sky News, this week, Andrew Bolt was the subject of racist attacks for a column he published. Sorry. Andrew Bolt was the subject of attacks for a racist column he published, where he had claimed that Australia's identity was under attack from migrants who failed to integrate, citing Caulfield's Jewish community and Dandenong's Indian residents. And all I'll say is, thank God Andrew's never heard of Chinatown, because I think he would flip the fuck out if he knew what was going on down there. But Bolt went on to say that even the flying of the Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander flags on government buildings was attacking our nation's identity. First of all, Andrew, I think you might be confusing Indigenous Australians with migrants. Migrants are people like, say, your parents who, luckily for them, arrived in this country at a time when you weren't a paid columnist. Whereas Indigenous Australians are the people who were here for at least 65,000 years before this new group of white people with weird coloured skin who didn't speak the language came along. So, Andrew, I'd be careful with this whole last one in, first one out line you're running. And finally this week, Malcolm Turnbull is under pressure after awarding $443.8 million to an independent organisation called the Great Barrier Reef Foundation without any tender process. And while the opposition is demanding more information, the government is confident that the foundation will spend all of the government money on saving the reef. And given the foundation previously spent money sending Carl Stefanovic snorkeling around the reef to ensure us it's all okay, I think we can agree that the reef is pretty much saved now. But speaking of the environment, plastic bags are all the rage right now, in that their mere existence makes everyone as angry as their threatened non-existence. Smooth. But Coles and Woolworths' decision to ban plastic bags has revealed a hidden side effect. People are assholes. And recently, Coles backflipped and will now give out free, thick, reusable bags for the time being. And here to discuss this with me is Coles spokesperson, Rose Bishop. Rose, what is Coles' official stance on this issue?
Pat, Coles remains committed to eliminating the use of plastic bags at all Coles stores.
Yeah, but that's not actually what they said, is it?
Pat, I've told you before, I'll tell you when you can talk. Coles has always been against plastic bags.
But then why did they change their mind?
Pat, to clear up any confusion for idiots like you, let me just say, once and for all, Coles is 100% behind the elimination of single-use plastic bags.
Okay, well, that's great news.
Exactly.
So plastic bags are now gone.
Well, it depends what you mean by gone.
Oh, Rose, I think gone is a pretty simple...
Pat, everybody knows that you need time to adjust to a change like this. I mean, what do you expect, for me to come on this show and say that we're 100% behind the elimination of single-use plastic bags?
That's literally what you said, like less than 30 seconds ago, Rose.
That's rubbish.
That is sort of the issue we're dealing with, yeah, I suppose.
Pat, Coles' loyal customer, they support the ban on plastic bags, and so do we as a company.
Rose, I actually can't help. You keep looking down at your phone every time you seem to change your mind. I mean, what are you looking at on your phone?
Pat, Coles isn't changing their mind based on the reaction of social media every 15 minutes. They're not blowing in the wind like some single-use plastic bag in American Beauty.
See, it does feel a lot like that scene at the moment, though, Rose.
Coles remains committed to eliminating the use of plastic bags at all Coles stores, sometimes. Always, until they don't, for the foreseeable future, indefinitely until August 25th, which is what they've always said.
Clear as mud. Rose Bishop from Coles, everybody.
Oh, and Pat, just one more thing.
Yeah, sure, Rose, go ahead.
Some guy called Toby wants to know whether you have a pencil dick to go with that pencil neck you have.
Thank you, Rose and Toby.
4 likes for that.
4 likes, great. And now for an outsider's perspective on this, we cross to Matt Young in the Leak News Jacuzzi.
Glad to still be in the news jacuzzi, Pat.
Yes, I understand you've been in the News Jacuzzi since our first episode.
That's right, Pat, and I am as wrinkled as one of these beautiful plastic bags next to me. It is clear to me now that plastic bags, however, are terrible for the environment.
That's right, Matt. I mean, I can tell you're surrounded by them.
Oh, no. Terrible for the business environment, Pat. Coles can't win. They either ban plastic bags and Andrew Bolt is outraged, or they don't ban plastic bags and get up starting an online petition. So there's no right choice.
Well, Matt, surely whatever saves the planet is the right choice.
No. The right business choice, patty cakes, keep up. Coles is willing to do whatever they can to ensure the sustainability and safety of our precious business ecosystem, but it's impossible with so much resistance from the other side.
Well, but Matt, then who exactly is the other side in this?
Anyone who doesn't want to buy plastic shit at Coles. From day one, Coles has pushed for strong legislative protections for our fragile business environment, and they're still willing to do whatever's necessary to protect it.
Including, say, banning plastic bags?
Yeah, sure. Ban plastic bags, unban plastic bags, make an Antarctic seal their mascot, or bash the seal to death in a Facebook live stream. They'll do whatever it takes to please their customers. Capiscio, Patricio?
Matt, aren't you just pointing out the flaws of the free market here? Like, why should businesses change if there's no financial incentive for altruism?
For what? Sorry?
Altruism.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Are you offering me drugs, Pat?
No, I'm not offering you drugs, Matt. I'm saying there needs to be some obligation on companies like Coles to do the right thing.
Pat, they're a business. They'll do whatever it takes, and that is fine.
But Matt, a whatever it takes attitude obviously isn't fine. I mean, I could go on some long rant about climate change, or I could just say, Matt, you're literally choking on a plastic bag right now.
Whatever it takes, Pat. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, well, I guess you're not wrong. Matt Young, everybody.
Oh, and Pat.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Yeah, what?
I've got here. I've got something.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Matt. You just focus on getting your breath back. Hang in there, Matt. Matt Young in the Leaks News Jacuzzi, everybody, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to The Leak. Well, all this week there has been talk about drought-affected regions of Australia, and our very own Aurelia St Clair is actually... Wait, Aurelia, are you on a farm?
Dad, Pat. If I don't find someone to marry quickly, I might lose my visa. And now that Channel 9 cancelled Farmer Wants a Wife, I've got to work even harder to find me some animal husbandry.
I don't think animal husbandry means what you think it means, Aurelia. That's like between animals, like cows or sheep. You know, aren't you talking about finding like an actual farmer?
A farmer, cows, sheep. I just want to stay in this country, and to do that, I got to put a bell on something.
It looks like what are you doing there? Like, are you planting seeds or something? Like, nothing's going to grow in this weather, Aurelia.
I'm not planting seeds. I've made a trail to lead livestock here, and when they arrive, I'll use this.
To build them a house?
No, Pat. To club them down to death with.
Aurelia, no, that's barbaric.
Oh, you're one of them?
One of who?
An opponent of live export. Do you know what happens to live exports?
I imagine exactly what you're about to do.
With one small difference. This method is better for managing my anger. Better livestock than people, Pat.
Okay, thanks, Aurelia, I guess.
Oh, just one more thing, Pat.
No, Aurelia, actually, I don't need any more of these.
Oh, by the way, Bree says, I wish that mansplaining Lego man was like an actual Lego so that he'd shut the fuck up. Like 5 likes, which is more than your video got.
Yeah, thanks, Aurelia, thanks heaps. Well, Australia. If there's one problem we can all agree we have, it's that we're too attractive a destination for gross foreigners. So now there's a suggestion that any new migrants who apply for permanent residency should have to take a test on Australian values, which for the next 4 minutes will be represented by Ollie, Sid and Millie. And while a yellow echidna is difficult to understand, the concept of exactly what Australian values are is actually even harder. I mean, it's such a loose concept that basically everyone can have a different understanding. I mean, think of Australian values as like Donnie Darko, right? I mean, everybody's got a different understanding of what it means, but the people who go on about it tend to be total pricks. But if we're trying to understand what Australian values are, surely the best place to start would be with Citizenship Minister Alan Tudge, as seen here in the throes of an explosive orgasm. And Alan Tudge set up his version of Australian values in a recent speech in the UK. The UK, of course, being the obvious home for a speech about Australian values. But anyway, Tudge listed Australian values as freedom of speech and worship, equality between the sexes, democracy and the rule of law, a fair go for all, the taking of individual responsibility. But it just so happens that some would say, promising young comedian has actually already explained how freedom of religion isn't under threat in this country and that equality between the sexes is not a principle adhered to by the Liberal Party itself, let alone the rest of the country. I guess he must not be watching. I suppose Dr. Doctor might be more his speed. Although to be fair, people need to know why Dr. Knight's leaving and where Penny will land on those fateful decisions about her love life. Wait, if that's going on now, what am I doing here? Anyway, other than that, Tudge said democracy was an Australian value. Democracy. I think the Greeks that Alan Tudge definitely called WOG at high school would have a pretty serious problem with Tudge claiming democracy as an Australian value. I think the Greeks have a bit of a trademark on that one. You know, like would Tudge seriously say, oh, you want to try some Australian food? Well, here, try this tzatziki and pita bread. It's a traditional Australian dish. But you know, maybe Australians really do love democracy. Let's ask one, shall we?
Yeah, I don't even know who I voted for.
You don't know who you voted for?
People like me shouldn't even be allowed to vote. If you don't know who you're voting for...
Yeah. But you say you just tick some boxes?
Pretty much.
Just down the line,
My name,
donkey vote?
I'd like to know who and whatnot, but got enough things in my own world to go on.
Inspiring stuff. Okay, so maybe we're not as big on this whole democracy idea as Alan thinks we are, but that's just because he's a politician. He's meant to be out of touch. Anyway, what's next? What's next? Freedom of speech. That's right. And you know what? Let's start with a speech from alt-right reprobate, which was actually the original name for Deep Blue something. Alt-right reprobate Lauren Southern, who used a speech in Brisbane to make a joke about Melbourne.
Begging with God, God, if I can find 10 good people in Sodom and Gomorrah, please do not nuke Melbourne.
Now look, we all have jokes, you know, that are a bit iffy or that don't land sometimes. I mean, I won't say that the audience didn't like my joke about the British version of Jack Irish being Johnny English, but I will say that they didn't get it. But whatever, right? Whatever. A person makes an off joke, that's fine, right? So maybe Tudge is right, and we do love free speech in this country.
Cricket Australia has attracted international headlines for sacking its head of government relations in Tasmania, she says because she spoke up critically about the state's abortion laws.
Okay, that's just one example though. I mean, you know, we still have robust debates in this country where ABC reporters with foreign-sounding names have their personal phone numbers posted to Facebook so that random assholes can send death threats and abuse to their mobile number because the reporter tweeted something about plastic bags. Oh, fuck. Okay. So free speech here in this country seemingly is simple. Nuking lefties, fine. Criticising restrictive abortion laws or plastic bag usage, not fine. And actually, just on plastic bags, I think Australia might have to let go of any claim to being a no-worries kind of country when a long-warned-about ban on single-use plastic bags at just 2 supermarkets led a man to walk up behind a woman and put his hands around her throat. Oh yeah, right, because it starts with plastic bags, doesn't it? It starts here, then pretty soon you'll ban my Facebook videos from the basement, and then it's just a hop, skip and a jump to agrarian socialism, and there'll be blood on your hands. Then lastly, there's Tudge's the fair go and individual responsibility. And for starters, I don't think anyone who follows up the fair go with individual responsibility really gets what the fair go was meant to be about. Because normally, when politicians like our Prime Minister talk about the fair go, they say things like, but we also have a culture of fair go, of looking after each other. Not, we also have a culture of a fair go. So help yourself, you lazy bum. I said good day. The fair go and individual responsibility go about as well together as a horse and marriage, or say, the fair go and whoever that guy was that oversaw a system that automatically sent 20,000 debt notices a week to welfare recipients who often never received them, then demanded repayment of Centrelink debts that were never owed, forcing people through a torturous process, often spending hours of their life engaging with Centrelink just to avoid paying a debt they never actually owed in the first place. Who was the guy that oversaw that scheme, by the way? Oh, right. Alan Tudge, seen here on the day of his daughter's wedding. So maybe these Australian values aren't actually something we live and die by. But hey, even if they are, I think I've spotted another pretty major problem with this whole values test, and that is you can't really teach values through a test. I mean, it's one thing to test someone's English, and I mean, the fact that new migrants are taking the test in English should be a pretty good indication one way or the other. But it's another thing entirely to hand new migrants Plato's Republic and then say, do you agree? Because that doesn't tell you anything. Because even if they say yes, that's only really proof they know how to pass the test. That's like when a driving instructor asks if you'll obey the road rules, or when a first date asks me what I do, and I know I could say comedian, but I know the right answer is, I'm just taking a break from the law right now. And that's exactly what will happen. Any new migrant can tell Alan Tudge, seen here as Alan Tudgerigar in his disastrous one-man paean to Tony Abbott, Tudgy smuggler. Any new migrant can tell Alan Tudge what he wants to hear. Although, if I was a new migrant, I'm not sure I could bear the look on his face when he found out I'd lied. Yeah, that look. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Leak, and we turn now to our resident patriotism correspondent, who is looking fit as a fiddle, I might add, Matt Young. Good to have you with us, Matt.
Good to be here, Pat. Greetings, Pat. Or should I say greeting? Let's not get carried away. Today I want to talk about national identity, Pat.
Oh, of course. I mean, I was just going to do that myself, multiculturalism, mateship, a fair go for all.
Yeah, no, I was talking about convict pissheads, actually, Pat. That's more generally what we're thought of as internationally. I think it would help. I think our international image would improve a lot if we had an Australian head of state.
Oh, I see. Like you're talking about how Australia might become a republic?
Yeah, exactly. I think it would be great if we had like a president or a king, or I think we'd call it a governor general, just because heads of state are traditionally like good indicators of a nation's identity.
Right. So like England has the Queen, the US has the president, and Australia
also has the Queen. We basically have the national identity of a kid who says they hate their nan, but just keeps pictures of them everywhere. It's pretty unusual. I don't really think Australia has a stable national identity because we basically just spend all of our time worrying whether or not Britain and America think we're cool.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we're part of an empire, Matt.
I mean, sure, Pat, like we don't pay any taxes, but we do pay attention, Look, I've got it sorted though. As an armchair historian and pop psychologist, I've figured out Australia's problem. And it just so happens to be the exact same as any other human being's problem.
Our family fucked us up?
Our family fucked us up, Pat. Let's take a trip. It's 1788, and Australia is one of the bastard children of the British Empire. England is our father, the land is our mother. Mum's an older lady, she had kids when she was way younger. They never moved out, not in a weird way, like your uncle lives with your grandma type of way. Just like they look after one another. It's a super wholesome relationship. Dad, on the other hand, he's a real rich prick who's always off travelling on business, when really he's just putting his colony in any piece of land that takes his fancy. Before we were born, Dad had a baby with America. Well, no one's 100% sure who the father is, but he put a ring on it. Anyway, he helped raise our stepbrother until he was about 15 decades old. But by then our dad just kept coming around and asking for money. So our stepbrother and our dad got into a big fight. He was really rebellious. You know how teenagers are. Somehow our stepbrother won, and ever since then he has just not stopped bragging about how much he loves fighting. After that, Dad was fuming. He goes mental, so to blow off some steam, he comes around to Australia and busts a fat colonial nut in Botany Bay. A nation is born, and we are fucked up from day dot. Dad locks us up one day, he sends us presents the next day. A lot of the presents are guns. It's pretty awful parenting. And Dad's still really aggro, and that rubs off on us a lot. Like, we take it out on Mum's kids, even though they're way older than us. It's pretty messed up, and we're real shitheads about it. Dad always takes our side, so we never really get in trouble for it. And while that's all going on, meanwhile, our stepbrother spends all his time working on himself like Josh Brolin in the Goonies. He's got a lot of internal conflict going on. Like, the fight with Dad really messed him up, but on the outside, he's good at everything. He's cool, he's strong, he's smart, he's funny. Like, we're smart too, you know? We were born knowing how to read. Like, we read all of Dad's books by the time we were even out of the womb, you know? We invented our own sport when we were 6 decades old. But Dad just makes us play cricket with him all the time because no one else will play with him, and he gives out shitty ash trophies. It's bleak. Everyone thinks that we're humble, but that's just because we've spent all of our whole life just having our family tell us that we're a no-good pack of criminals. So eventually we just gave up and started to go with it, and we were all, oh, criminals are cool. All our favourite people are criminals. You know, we thought we'd own it. And then we started drinking, and we were like drinking to the point that we were well known for drinking. So now we're just a novelty at European parties. And like, we know Mum and Dad only stay married because it's easier than splitting up. But come on, like, we're 21 decades old. We can take it. Like, we almost talked Mum into divorcing Dad around our 20th decade birthday, but then we decided against it. Like, it wouldn't even bother Dad if they did split up. He has like 4 other wives. Like, to be fair, India dumped him last century, but he's still with New Zealand. And he's with Canada too, even though France kind of cucked him there. I also think Dad's kind of having like a bit of a crisis at the moment anyway. Like, he's turned into a real hermit, and he's having this weird public breakup with his friends. I don't know. It's 2018. We should be cutting toxic people out of our lives. And it would be nice to reconcile with Mum's kids, but it's hard to make up for what we did under Dad's influence. You know, we tried saying sorry, but that had never cut it. It'd just be nice if we could help look after Mum together or something, you know? It's just kind of a bummer that we inherited so many toxic attitudes from Dad's side of the family, because it feels like we could discover our own values if we just stepped out of his shadow, you know? Anyway, that's my extended allegory on why we should murder the Queen.
We might get to that later, actually.
Fair enough, Pat. Oh, Pat, by the way, I did mean to say, some guy called Jacob did reply to that Toby guy and said, can confirm, pencil dick. 21 likes and a love heart react for that one.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
You used to date a guy called
Yeah,
Jacob.
thanks, Matt. Yeah, thank you. Well, and finally, Osama bin Laden's mother, change of pace, Osama bin Laden's mother gave an interview this week to The Guardian. And in the interview, one of Osama's younger brothers, Ahmad, said Osama's mother, Aliyah, blames those around him because she only knows the good boy side. Which to me does sound like classic sibling rivalry from Ahmad there, you know. Oh, sure, when Osama destroys the Twin Towers, that's just because he fell in with the wrong crowd. But when I use beef instead of lamb in your birthday mantu dumplings, I'm the fuck up. But later in the interview, bin Laden's mother, Alia Garman, claimed Osama became a different person at university after falling in with the wrong crowd. And look, I don't know who that would be. Maybe that crowd smoked dope, or listened to The Cure too often, or didn't do their part of the group assignment. Actually, I think we have footage of the wrong crowd he fell in with. Tara! I tell you what, if we discover that Osama was a straight A student until she didn't do her part of the group assignment, we need to track her down and make her pay. Well, that is it from us tonight. My thanks to Aurelia St. Clair, Rose Bishop, Matt Young, and Eve Ellenbogen, who sadly was ill and couldn't be with us tonight, and all the crew for all of their work this season. Thank you so much. That is it from us at The Leak. Good night.